Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to our book talk, Mother Teresa, The Untold Story. This event is hosted by the Center for Inquiry Canada, your community for science and secularism. My name is Onur Romano. I am a co-organizer of the CFIC Victoria branch and the branch manager of the virtual branch. I'm also honored to serve as human rights chair of our organization. CFIC is Canada's only national nonprofit with the mission of promoting and educating the public on critical thinking, science, and secularism. We work to equip people to make decisions based on evidence, rational thinking, and compassion. To that end, we hold events like this to provide an opportunity for you to engage with subject matter experts on a variety of topics. In these days of physical distancing, all of CFIC's events and activities are provided online, available from coast to coast to coast. We will be recording this talk for publication on CFIC's YouTube channel. You may wish to turn off your camera or rename yourself if you wish to stay anonymous. To minimize background noise, we have put everyone on mute. After Dr. Chatterjee's talk, there will be a Q&A moderated by myself, during which the audience will have an opportunity to ask questions. All you need to do is to use the raised hand feature of Zoom, or you can also type your questions directly to me in the Zoom chat window. We rely entirely on donations and memberships to allow us to bring you events such as this one. Please visit our website or email me for more information about how to become a member or make a donation. Now, I would like to introduce you to this evening's speaker, Dr. Aroup Chatterjee.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm really sorry about the last time because I let you down because my son had an emergency a slot for vaccinations. I had to bring him there.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming and thank you for being here. And let me give you guys a little intro about Dr. Chatterjee. Dr. Chatterjee is actually a colleague of mine from Atheist Alliance International Advisory Council. He is a British Indian author and a physician. He was born in Calcutta and moved to United Kingdom in 1985. He is the author of the book Mother Teresa, The Untold Story, originally published as Mother Teresa, The Final Verdict.
The Final Verdict, yes, indeed.
A work which challenges the widespread regard of Mother Teresa as a symbol of philanthropy and selflessness. Chatterjee's criticism inspired the documentary Hell's Angel that was shown on Channel 4, a British television channel. The documentary was written by a well-known critic of Mother Teresa, Christopher Hitchens, who co-produced it with journalist and filmmaker Tariq Ali. Chatterjee and Hitchens were the two devil's advocates, or hostile witnesses to Catholic Church procedures for the beatification of Mother Teresa in 2003. Just to make clear, it was Dr. Chatterjee who brought Christopher Hitchens to the topic, not the other way around.
Correct.
He has been campaigning on this issue for 3 decades now, and yes, he's also deeply committed to people around the world to have a choice to be free from religion.
Absolutely.
He divides his time between United Kingdom, India, and Australia. Yes. So tonight, we will have a journey into the making of this book, Mother Teresa, The Untold Story, and the Backlash. This book is also available on Amazon, and I will share. I shared the link for those who would like to purchase the book. And welcome, Aroup. The floor is yours.
Hello, thank you. I mean, I can share you my journey, but it's actually quite boring. You know, it's lonely and boring and tedious. I think I'll probably, it's better to say why I did it rather than how I did it, because I did it because it was such a lie. I always say this, but when I came to United Kingdom in 1985 to do post-graduation in medicine, I had actually heard of Mother Teresa. I grew up, I was born and brought up in Calcutta. My family lived there for 200 years. I heard of Mother Teresa, but I had nothing against her. nothing in favor of her. Probably I was in favor of her, but I had no idea that she was such a figure in the world, and I had no idea that the world thought or still thinks that Calcutta is being fed, watered, clothed, everything housed by that woman. So I came here with an open mind, and I had absolutely no notion of her so-called philanthropy and her perceived idea that she brought me up and she brought my family up, etc., etc. And that's why I took this on. I just thought that this historical lie should be challenged in every way possible. It was a very it was quite a frustrating and lonely journey, so which I'm still doing. Actually, I'm still on that journey. Thankfully, accidentally, I was given the contact of Tariq Ali's production company, Bangdung Productions, which is closed down. It was a very fortuitous that I got contact, and he took it up. So the documentary Hell's Angel was made. And from then on, then I wrote the book, and then the second incarnation of the book is called Untold Story. It's the same book essentially. It's a different publisher. That's about it. And this goes on because Mother Teresa's myth also lives on. So I have to challenge the myth. And I'm not that involved anymore, although currently a British documentary company called Minnow Films is making a very long documentary on her, and I'm kind of involved in it as an interviewee. That's my background, really. So in a nutshell, although I'm an atheist, always been one, but I was, because in my family, in my kind of milieu in Calcutta, atheism or non-religiousness is the default. So I was never a militant atheist. I was just a standard atheist. So absolutely nothing against her religion whatsoever. I didn't have any axe to grind because she was Catholic and I was atheist, and the fact that she had a conversion agenda and all that didn't bother me. What bothered me was the untruth, the lies, the myth making, the complete charade, the fraud making, and also the fact that the international perception about my city and my culture, and the fact that people still think that Calcutta is totally beholden to an Albanian Catholic nun, and the city has got nothing going for it, and would have collapsed if she wasn't there. So these are the two things: the fact that the whole charity thing was such a bombastic lie, and the other thing was that the Calcutta is being totally sustained by her. These are the two things that drove me, not the religion aspect, really, truly. So that's my background.
Thank you. So would you like to tell us more about the production of it and your experience with Christopher Hitchens? And
I think it's best not to talk about the Hitchens connection, but the production was pretty quick with Bangdung, because the assistant producer was a woman called Vania, who was actually in charge, although Tariq Ali was nominally the head. She did it very, very quickly with Channel 4. So we did the film. We didn't actually go to Calcutta. It was done in studio with archival material. So it was a very quick, it was done in a month, I think. And then we showed it in 1994, and it was an instant hit. And from then I just realized that there was a lot of interest in her. So that's why I started collecting material for the book. Anyway, it's a personal journey, but I'm deeply disappointed. I mean, I think that's a very strong feeling in me. That I'm deeply disappointed that I haven't been able to inspire any Indians in my journey, because Indians are always very afraid, and they always think of conspiracies. I think if there are any Indians listening, they would probably understand what I'm talking about. The Indians don't think that anything can be done in a straightforward fashion, and people can do anything from an ideological point of view, or I'm sorry, I'm stereotyping, but because I'm Indian, I can be politically incorrect, I suppose. So they cannot believe that I have been doing it without any self-interest or without an ulterior motive, or they cannot also believe that somebody's not driving me from behind, that I'm doing it all on my own back, and there is nothing, no material gain for me. So I was hoping that by this time there would be Indians with me, especially from Calcutta, who would say, "But look, this has been going on and this is not right. So we would like to come with you to address this issue," but that hasn't happened. So that has deeply disappointed me, I must say.
And what was your initial findings as you started looking into and doing your research about Mother Teresa?
I mean, it was. I knew it from beginning. There was nothing spectacular to find, because when I came to United Kingdom in '85, I came to the wider world. You could say, came outside of India. I was constantly told that Mother Teresa was feeding thousands every day. She had a orphanage for thousands. She never refused anybody who knocked on her door. She had a soup kitchen which was open round the clock, and she was feeding countless number of people around the clock. I knew all that to be untrue because I had some limited interaction with her, in the sense of we took one destitute person, my family rather, my extended family took a destitute woman to her, and she was turned away. And I didn't feel anything bad about it, because I knew that in India you can't look after everybody, that it is part of the course to be refused by charitable organizations, because they had so many criteria of acceptance. Therefore, I was extremely angry when I came here and I heard that Mother Teresa was telling the world, she herself was telling the world, that we never refuse a single person and we accept everybody who knocks on our door day or night. Especially at night time, they have in the daytime, the door is nominally open, although they don't accept people from the streets. At night time, if you knock on the door, if you're dying outside, they wouldn't even open the door to say hello to you. So these are the things that really, so that's why there was no revelation for me about what she was doing and what she was saying, the discrepancies. My objective was to tell the world that was the situation, that she didn't have a proper soup kitchen. It was a very minor operation of, say, 50 to 100, 5 days a week. The orphanage is a small one with extreme overcrowding and very unhygienic conditions. The home for the dying is absolutely grotesque. It's not, the residents are not even given proper beds. They're given hammocks. There's no space between the beds. They're not allowed to get up and walk. Needles and gloves were routinely reused during her lifetime by order. It was an order that you had to reuse needles and gloves. And that was when AIDS epidemic was rife. You can call it an epidemic, or you can call it the AIDS problem was rife. Hepatitis B is a big problem in India, hepatitis B and C, and she was reusing needles. So these are the things I knew. Some of the things I didn't know before I started my research, that the needle reusing, etc. But I knew that her operations were on a very, very small level. So my brief was to bring to the world that news or that information with evidence that, look, this is a woman who runs a very small, sketchy operation or charity in Calcutta. But she says, as soon as she opens her mouth, she goes on about, that she's feeding hundreds of thousands, she's clothing hundreds of thousands. The orphanage is open round the clock. She's looking after thousands and thousands of babies, and she's literally running the city of Calcutta single-handed. So that was my job, to tell the world that wasn't the case. if you if I can, shall I keep talking, or do you want to ask me questions? I can keep talking if you want, because
Oh, I mean,
want
you can actually keep talking, and
okay, I'll keep talking
and then
then.
we can ask questions at the very
If
end.
you have any burning questions, just raise your hand and
Yeah,
I'll just
I would just like you to elaborate on, when you said sketchy, and what was the real sketchy parts and the dark side of it, and
well, in
some of our
everything.
yes.
Sorry, go on. Well, the dark side was. I mean, please don't ask me about the money angle, because I'm not an accountant, and because everything I did was myself, I don't understand accounts very well. So I know that I've seen some of her accounts, and it is obvious that she sends all her money to the Vatican Bank. She doesn't use mostly doesn't use other banks. And Vatican Bank is a bank of scandal where people die, they're killed, for money laundering and all that, but she prefers to keep her money there. But I am not an accountant, so I wouldn't be able to give you a huge amount of insight into what the money was being spent for, and what was how much she was collecting, etc., etc. We know that she was collecting a huge amount, and she was spending a very small sum of it. Most of it was being spent on religious activities, about 90% probably, and 10% trickled down to charity. Well, some kind of charity, so-called charity. Okay. The dark side is that she didn't have any intention of providing charity, really. It was for publicity. Her entire mission was publicity for herself and the Catholic Church. It wasn't in order to collect funds, because if she just breathes, funds would come. So money wasn't her primary objective, motivation for her lying and her what she did. The primary objective was ideological, i.e., to bring more and more glory to her Catholic Church, and that fitted in with her actual primary objective, which was to ban abortion from the earth. But she was, and minimize contraception, or even ban contraception. Okay, she was absolutely driven. On a standard day in her life, she would probably 25 times, she would probably say abortion is murder of the child by the mother. We have to ban abortion from the world. I mean, it just became like it was a broken record, but it became a super obsession with her. She couldn't just stop saying it. And every time she met anybody, every time she wrote something, every time she gave an interview, at every point it was abortion, 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 that we have to ban abortion from the earth. Abortion is murder. And I don't know why she was so obsessed with it, because she probably believed that if abortion was outlawed completely from the earth, everybody would become a Catholic, and the world would become heaven for Jesus. And she was also a big converter for Catholicism. I can send you a video which I obtained, where she was gloating about converting dying or moribund people as they lay lying. It's a separate link. I have to send it to you separately.
Okay.
Anyway, if people are interested, they can watch it. I've got no problem. So, don't ask me how I got it, but anyway, it was a video that was recorded in California in 1992, and she said at the time in January 92 that she had already converted 29,000 dying or moribund people by then. So this abortion fixation that she had, that was pretty peculiar. And also she was against contraception. See, she once said to CNN, a woman called Sandy Friedman, I think, she was being interviewed soon after the Nobel Prize, and she suddenly comes up with contraception causes cancer and has to be banned. She didn't use the word ban, but anyway, in Calcutta, she never paid a single rupee towards any medical cause or any research or any medical clinic or any proper school, nothing. only money that she paid to a non-Catholic cause was to pay for a so-called research into the efficacy of natural contraception amongst slum women in Calcutta. This was a fraudulent study done by one of her own doctors, and this research paper was rejected by every single journal in the world, and finally it was published by the Indian Journal of Gynecology and Obstetrics, which the researcher, so-called researcher that she employed, he had connection with that particular journal, and it is actually a bogus study. But the interesting thing is that she never paid for any medicine for anybody, any hospital equipment for anybody, any hospital treatment for anybody. The only time she actually forked out some money was for this particular so-called research.
So so some people regard Mother Teresa as a cult leader. Would that be fair?
Actually, you know what? I really don't know the definition of a cult, but she was quite a, yes, she was in her lifetime a cult leader. I think it is less now. It is less now. I think her admirers and her followers would probably listen to you if you criticize her, and they wouldn't shut you down or shoot you down. Whereas I think the cult leader that really comes to mind is Narendra Modi, the current Prime Minister of India. He's a real cult leader. Mother Teresa, yes, she was, but not so now. And also, I didn't feel that her followers were violent, even at her peak, although they are very abusive, but not actually violent, which I find that, the current Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, his followers are extremely violent and abusive, and they can kill for him. So I don't know if that makes him a cult leader and not her. But yes, I mean, if I didn't address the issue of Teresa and her myth, I think probably by now she would have become a cult figure. But probably not so at the moment so much.
I would like to share some of the images you have shared with me here. So now, I hope I'm sharing the right screen here.
Yeah, this is just to say that, when I told you in the beginning that I had no idea that Mother Teresa was such a big deal in Calcutta, and I had nothing actually against her. If anything, I was in favor of her, whatever I've heard of her. So these are pictures taken during her lifetime in Calcutta itself, and this is it was a very standard street sign in Calcutta, a hoarding sign, advertising abortion. Teresa was so intensely against abortion, but there was no problem in Calcutta for other people to advertise abortion. So this is why I'm making the point that she wasn't a big influence in the city.
Yeah, and now we have this.
This is from the orphanage
yes.
in Calcutta. Actually, it is much better than it actually was rather at the time. It's better now. There would be 2 or 3 children or babies per cot. That was quite standard. With her finances, she could build a better orphanage, but she wasn't interested in anything like remotely like giving people any service. Okay, this is the, if you freeze it and read it, you will find that it was a detailed instruction during her lifetime. This board hung in her so-called home for the dying. It was detailed instructions of how to reuse needles. May I add here that her so-called home for the dying in Calcutta had 98 places, and probably half would be filled. And she didn't use a lot of needles or gloves on a daily basis or even on a monthly basis. So the instruction to reuse needles and gloves were actually just another evidence of a sadism, that you have to just make these people suffer, probably, because it was a very low expense. Her medical side was practically zero, and she would probably use about maybe 50 needles a month, and they are actually very cheap, the disposable ones. So why she had to instruct people to reuse needles and gloves, I really don't know. It came from an ideology, nothing else.
Yeah.
I'll show you some more pictures if I can. Okay, this is a photograph of a Missionaries of Charity so-called ambulance. So-called because these don't have any ambulance facilities. If you open the door, there is no stretcher. There is no stretcher space. These are used as nuns' taxis. Many people from all over the world, they donate these vehicles to Mother Teresa, thinking that the poor would be helped, and the ambulance would be put to good use. But Teresa used the ambulances solely as vehicles for her nuns to go from A to B. I'll show you another picture. It was 1995, I think. She was alive. I was just hanging out around outside her headquarters in Calcutta, and look at the truck. If you can see, the truck has her name written on it, Missionaries of Charity, because they had so much stuff coming from abroad to Calcutta port on a weekly basis that they had a truck to bring them in. And this particular consignment came from Italy. I don't know what came, but it was a huge amount of clothes, probably food, I don't know, toys, etc., etc. And I have proof, I have testimony that these stuff were sold by nuns in the black market almost immediately, actually, as soon as they arrived. It's well known. If you go to Calcutta and ask around her headquarters or her home, a standard person who lives there, they would all tell you that it's open knowledge that the nuns sell them off into shops and businesses nearby. Okay, this is a random scene from. Sorry, I have to cover her eyes. Random scene from one of our homes in Calcutta. This is the way people are looked after anyway. It's nothing special. Okay, this is a child in the orphanage. The interesting thing is that they're not even given proper toilets, but they have to go to toilet beside each other. That's fine for children, probably. But what's interesting is that the toilet is the effluent goes into the drain system of the local neighborhood. So she was putting toilet sewage in the normal drain system without any compunction. So these are the photos I have for you today. It was complete callousness. There was no ethics, no morals, nothing.
Well, I'm going into some questions now, and the first question is from Leslie Rosenblatt. By the way, now I am questioning if the raise hand feature is working, because nobody's raising hand, everybody is sending their questions. I hope that feature is working. I haven't turned it off, mistake. So the first question is, given the enormous disparity between the story she told the world and the reality of her works, how has Mother Teresa been able to maintain her reputation across decades and the globe, even decades after her death?
I think it's because of Indians, because they haven't challenged it. Because of Calcuttans, they haven't challenged it. If anything, they have promoted her out of fear, out of ignorance, and out of awe. And it's obviously a white man's thing as well, because if you're white-skinned in India, they worship you. And because I'm the critic and I'm Indian, I'm not white. Obviously, I have some ulterior motive. She never had. She was purer than pure. In India, her critics all come from the Hindu nationalist BJP, who have got a very toxic agenda of anti-minority hate. So I don't go with them. But unfortunately, secular liberal Indians, they haven't challenged her. And secular sort of bland, non-committal Indians, they actually love her to bits. They know nothing about her, absolutely nothing about her. If you speak to her, say you met an Indian in your workplace, an IT person, or you went to India and met an upper middle class liberal Indian, and if you ask them about Mother Teresa, they would say Mother Teresa she was a great woman, she was God, she was a goddess, she was a saint, she is a saint, etc., etc. Yeah, and just 2 seconds. Yes, Chris. Hello. I'm doing a Zoom meeting.
Okay.
It's all right.
Gotta go.
You're finished.
Yeah, for today.
Okay.
I'm going to book you in for next week, three days.
Okay.
But
Cool.
I'll contact you.
Thanks.
But you'll need something to move that.
Okay. Which one? Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Sorry.
So,
Is that okay?
Yeah, my next question is actually that's my question. So we heard that there are two miracles of Mother Teresa, and one of them is, I believe, the healing of Marsilio Andrino.
No, that's the second one.
That's the second.
The first one is Monica Besra. I have met that woman. She changed the story about 5 times. She first said that she wasn't cured. The husband said she was cured, then vice versa. She said she was, the husband said she wasn't. Now she's sticking to the story that she was. It's all about how much money she's given at what time. The Catholic Church built her, gave her money, gave her land. They built a church across the road from her. Also, she converted quite a few families in her village. By a strange coincidence, after she was cured, her son developed cancer of the jaw. And he had a lot of treatment with the medals and all that. But he couldn't be cured, so he had to be treated in a normal hospital, in a specialist hospital for cancer patients. And by another weird coincidence, while he was being treated, he was looked after by a Hindu charity, not by Missionaries of Charity. So this is the story of Monica Besra, that she openly asked for money to endorse the miracle. Her doctors, every single doctor that had treated her, they all said it was a bogus thing. It was a hoax. She never had any miraculous cure. It was TB that she had, and the TB got cured by medicines. That's what even she said in the beginning, but then she changed her story.
So how did she become a saint? How did she get the title?
Well, that's a Catholic Church's process. To become a saint, you don't have to be a very good person. You have to be a good Catholic and adhere to the Catholic rules of opposing contraception and abortion. And also you have to probably convert quite a few people. And then if you tick all the boxes, then you can become a saint. Don't forget that fascists have become saints and blesseds. Jose Maria Escriva, the head of Opus Dei, he was an avowed fascist. He identified with Nazism and deep anti-Semitism. He is a saint. He became a saint in record time. Pope Pius XII, who helped Hitler to deport Jews, he's a blessed. Cardinal Stepinac of Serbia, he is a blessed as well. They're all going to be saints. And there's a Slovenian chap, I can't remember his name, it's a very long name, it's Slovakian and Slovenian, I think Slovakian, who also was deeply anti-Semitic, and he is now a blessed to become a saint in due course. All I'm trying to say is that there is no need to be a good person or a saintly person to become a saint. You have to be a very good Catholic and do the good Catholic things and not do the bad Catholic things. That's how she became a saint. So the second miracle person was in Brazil. He was actually hidden. I don't know whether people who have followed Mother Teresa should know that the Monica Besra thing created a lot of controversy, because Monica Besra gave interviews to various international media saying that she wasn't cured by miracle, she was cured by medicines. Ditto her husband. He also said. So Monica Besra was a deep embarrassment for the Catholic Church. Also, Besra's various doctors, despite being Indians, it's very surprising, they didn't kowtow the Catholic line, Vatican line. Each and every, I think except for one, each and every said that Besra was cured by medicines, not by miracle, not by a medal. So Catholic Church was left in an embarrassing position with the first miracle when she became a blessed. For that reason, they didn't wish to take a chance with another Indian for the second miracle. So they steered clear of India, and they went to a deep part of Brazil. And they found this gentleman, supposedly an engineer, who had 17 or some weird number of brain tumors in his brain. An astonishing number of brain tumors. I can't remember the exact number. But anyway, so his wife, what happened was his wife was taking him to the hospital. How he was conscious, I don't know. That's a miracle. So wife was taking him, driving him to the hospital, and suddenly on the way, she had a little idea, the big idea, that let me take my husband to the nearest church or a Mother Teresa's mission or something in Brazil to be blessed by her medal. So instead of going to the hospital, she went to this place. A medal was put on his head and skull, and all the tumors, the multiple tumors, 17 or something, they just melted away. And he got cured. So on his, when Mother Teresa was canonized, which is the second step of being, the final step of becoming a saint, this chap was presented to the world, but only for a split second, well, only for a very brief period. He was withdrawn from public and from media immediately. And I don't actually think he gave any interviews to, he was probably not allowed to give any interviews to media. So he was taken away because the Catholic Church didn't want to repeat the mistake that they did with Besra. Besra had overexposure, and she was not singing from the hymn sheet, from the prepared sheet. So I can assure you that if you spoke to him, I haven't been able to trace him actually. I would like to speak to this man in Brazil, but he's very difficult to trace. I will probably speak to him one day. And I would like to obviously ask him some questions. But you can, anybody wants to go and speak to Monica Besra, they can. She lives in a very, very interior tribal village in India.
Our next question is from Vasuraj. And he's asking, at what age you had a chance to observe and for how many years? So it impacted you.
When I came to UK, I was 26 and a half, I think almost 27 probably. This started the whole question started bugging me from round about 4 years later. So I was just over 30. And I started my mission or my journey or my project around the age of 31, and I'm still on it. I don't do much about it now because when I go to Calcutta, which used to be like 3 times a year when my mother was alive, I used to I steered clear of because I was a bit tired of all this. As I said, and also I couldn't because I couldn't inspire any Calcuttans in my project. Nobody came with me in a big way or even in a moderate way.
So is the number accurate when because I think Mother Teresa's claim is 20,000 conversions. Is that
Mother Teresa's claim was in 1992 January, 29,000 conversions, surreptitious conversions. Not, I have no problem if people convert for love or for money, for sex or whatever, because it's a free world and people do things for various things. If I was starving and if you gave me rice, I would convert, no problem. But I think to convert somebody who's semi-conscious or unconscious or dying, I think it's lowest of the low. So that's what she used to do. And she said here herself.
So the next one is from Chitra Raghav. I don't know if it's a question or a comment. If it's about spreading religion, collecting money for spreading religion, it's still in India. There are no such rules which can stop conversion of religion in name of charity. For first 5 years of my life, I lived among a certain case in Moradabad. They used to get refrigerator, sofa, TV when they switched to Christianity. Yeah, so it's a common practice all around the world, I believe, even today.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I mean, if I got a sofa, I would probably become a Muslim, and then somebody gave me a TV the following day, I become a Christian. And in fact, I think I don't really have a huge problem with that. It's probably not the best thing to do. But in India, in the northeastern states, I think Chitra, who's asking the questions, probably knows about the northeastern state, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram. At one point, Baptist missionaries were carrying suitcases full of cash, actual cash, and converting people. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a contentious question. In some states, they have banned conversion, which is the BJP governments, which is also not right, I think. And also they put people in prison for trying to convert, which is, in my opinion, that's not right. And if a Muslim man marries a Hindu girl, the current BJP line is love jihad. They call it, there's a phrase they use, love jihad. And they beat up the boy almost to death, sometimes to death. They may kill the boy's family even, and the girl is beaten up mercilessly. Last month, the Muslim boy was actually beheaded and his limbs cut off because he was going out with a Hindu girl. So I personally, I think that if people do it in full consciousness, in compass mentis, and they accept a television or a sofa set and then get converted, yeah, it's okay, I suppose. I mean, but I don't agree with converting people who are not conscious, who are not compass mentis. But some states of India have banned conversion of any kind, actually. So question, I think when Mother Teresa died in 1997, conversion wasn't a big issue. You could convert. Was conversion Mother Teresa's main motive? It could have been, but she probably realized that it's a hot potato, firstly. Secondly, I think this is very crucial. In India, the percentage of Christians, not only Catholics, all Christians, is 2.3%. In Calcutta, it's, I think, less than half of that. So Calcutta has very, very few Christians. So Mother Teresa hasn't had any success in Calcutta or West Bengal in order to convert. And in India also, her success was very, very limited. So I think she made a decision early on, or maybe 20 years before she died, that, look, I am getting so much publicity and people are converting in many other countries like Africa, Philippines, Japan, Southeast Asia, etc. United States, a big country, from my so-called charity in Calcutta and India, that people are converting to Catholicism anyway. So why should I take the risk of trying to convert in India when I may not be successful, and I might invite trouble? So I personally think that's why she probably gave up trying to convert. But she has, in some interviews, she did say that, look, when the question was put to her, are you disappointed that more people haven't converted in India? And she said, yes, of course, I'm disappointed that more people haven't found Jesus in India.
Do you think things have changed in India since Mother Teresa, or do you think there is significant change?
In India as a whole, or
yeah,
people say that it's economically apparently an economic powerhouse, etc., etc. I don't particularly buy that. I think India, the disparity between rich and poor is huge. Between the rich and middle class is huge. The universal healthcare is not there, non-existent. A middle class family can be bankrupted through a moderate or even a mild illness.
What about the mindset?
Pretty bad. I think the Indian mindset is quite abysmal, actually. I mean, like, okay, they elected Modi.
I'm asking this because it's been what, a quarter century? It's been 25 years
Absolutely,
almost.
yes.
That's
She died. Yes. I think mindset is whatever. If anything, it's become worse. People have become more materialistic. The youth don't take any interest in politics or anything else apart from money and porn, probably. And there's no inner life in India. Seriously, it's a very, I know it's a bit of a cliche and probably not the best statement to CFI because we don't particularly believe in soul, but it is true that you have to have something apart from material pursuits to sustain yourself, and Indians don't have that. It was never that great in India anyway, but at least in our time, the youth took interest in politics, and there was lots of, at least in my state, but youth are totally not bothered anymore. So I think things are worse even.
Going back to her time, of course, I'm sure you have the answer for this question. What what kind of pain medication did she use in her hospice? This question is from Brian Garden.
In her time, she used nothing. She maintained that if people suffered, they came closer to Jesus. So there was almost a ban on using painkillers. There was a doctor who would come, say, once every 2 weeks. He would just hang around a little bit, go past the people, not even talk to them. There was no regular doctor visitor anyway. But she had a lot of volunteers when she was alive who were doctors and nurses, loads and loads of them. And most of them were quite appalled at how much could be done to alleviate pain. And it wasn't by diktat that they were not allowed to use any painkillers. But she herself was the first person to accept painkillers and the best medical care when she was ill, both in Calcutta and outside. Even her cataract operation was done in a top US hospital, and she had multiple treatments in La Jolla, California, the Scripps Clinic, and then in the Gemelli Hospital in Rome. It's a hospital for the princes of the Catholic Church and for very wealthy people. So she had no compunction in getting the best for herself, but for her people in her care, she would not give anything.
How was her relationship with the authorities, with the administration, the government, the local and nationwide, and like, was she ever investigated by health authorities in India?
No, they would be too scared to do that. When Mother Teresa's, during her lifetime, unfortunately,
they would feel like
for her,
searching Jesus, I believe. Yeah.
No, they would be really, Indians would be terrified of even asking Mother Teresa any searching question. That was out of the question. Okay, during her life, Mother Teresa, unfortunately for her, most of her lifetime was spent in Calcutta when the Communist Party was ruling the state. They actually didn't like her at all. I know that because obviously I have contacts with many of them, especially the chief minister, the last chief minister, Mr. Bhattacharya. He really disliked her intensely, but he would never make any public comments about her. The only leader from that party who has made public comments about her was the former mayor, Vikas Bhattacharya, who has gone public in various international media as well, saying that she never did anything for the city and she brought a lot of bad publicity. And he supports my endeavors as well. And he has launched my book also. So he's the only exception who has been public. But I know for sure that the whole hierarchy of the ruling party, the Communist Party of India, Marxist, that ruled West Bengal, was very opposed to her on the whole. But the current government, which took power in, I think, 2011, and the Communist Party is now routed. It doesn't exist anymore from a huge presence. So it's difficult to believe. This particular government is like exceptionally fond of her and exceptionally pro her for complicated political reasons, not for charity reasons, but for because this political party called TMC, their main mojo is that they are extremely secular and they have to protect the minorities from Modi. They're anti-Modi, but a rightist party. They're a rightist party which are pro-minority. It's a complicated party, quite mafia type, and they absolutely love Mother Teresa. So she has been quite lucky in that sense.
And the next question is from Joel Falk. He wonders if you had a chance to look into the book Hope Endures, which was written by a doctor.
Yes, actually, I did read it. I can't remember a lot of it. Actually, I found it yesterday in my library. Yes, I did read the book.
Yeah, because that book was also written by a doctor who worked for Mother Teresa and soon quit in disgust and even abandoned her faith. So she talks about many of the things you have mentioned and probably more. That's what I'm told. I didn't have a chance to read that book. I was just wondering if you...
I have actually read it. I did read it about 2 years back. Yeah, but I can't remember a huge amount. Is it by a doctor or a nurse? Is it somebody called Anderson or something?
Yes. Well, I don't have the name of the doctor, but I will look into it right now. I will have an answer right away. I believe it's the book is authored by a doctor, but Colette Livermore.
Colette Livermore, yes.
Colette Livermore.
I've read the book.
Yes, and so the next question is from Desmond Murphy. Was Mother Teresa promoting her own canonization campaign through her propaganda?
Possibly. I think she never said, she was pretty convinced that she was who the world said she was. She never thought, she never stopped and thought, well, am I really feeding 5,000 every day? Am I looking after every orphan in the city? Have I got my doors open all the time? These things just left her lips, and sometimes people did ask her, so Mother Teresa, are you going to be a saint? And she said, oh yes, it's a big journey. It's such a burden on the soul to become a saint. It's not easy. So obviously she knew that she would that she was getting so much publicity. Whether she actually knew that she was lying, I don't know. But definitely she was promoting her own cause.
So Wasuraj says a clarification on the question of her popularity. In India, as kids, we came across about Mother Teresa's service through learning materials, non-detailed moral storybooks, likely missionary folks with an influence in educational publishing circle endured this. I'm sorry. Likely missionary folks with an influence in education publishing circle ensures this. So all we knew was there's a great person to she was a great person to celebrate, like a symbol of love and service.
Yes,
So
absolutely
that's
true. It is very sad that in India that the education is almost monopolized by Christians. And I finished my education in 1978. It wasn't so acute. And there were non-Christian schools as well. I went to one, a secular school. But now it's almost all upper middle class children and middle class children go to Christian schools and mainly Catholic schools. And in those schools, the intensity of the publicity of Mother Teresa is very, very huge. But unfortunately, sadly, now the non-Christian, even the government schools, they have her publicity. They do her publicity. They have books, notable Indian figures, and they would have, oh yes, she was an Indian who won the Nobel Prize, because Indians are passionately obsessed with the Nobel Prize. And even they claim anybody who has some Indian ancestor and maybe a Chinese or a Japanese, and if they had a Nobel Prize of some sort or a major foreign prize, they would claim them instantly, saying that, this is partly our prize. So Mother Teresa was an Indian citizen, although she was a Vatican citizen as well. And she won the Nobel Peace Prize. So it's for Indians, it's a matter of a huge pride. And now non-religious government textbooks, government pamphlets and all that, they would have Mother Teresa as a huge figure. They don't mention a lot about her, what she didn't do. Or she was a great lady, a white lady who came to India to serve us, and she won the Nobel Peace Prize, and that is another Peace Prize. And we have had so many Nobel Prizes, Indians. So that's how it goes.
You mentioned the Nobel Prize, and Richard Taine asks, why did the Nobel Committee award her? Were they duped?
I mean, that's a whole chapter in my book. The Nobel Committee, Nobel Prize has been given to lots of peculiar people. The obviously just before Teresa, it was Kissinger, who was a warmonger and destroyer of Indochina, dropped millions of tons of napalm and other toxic materials on Laos and Cambodia, apart from Vietnam, of course, but he dropped from other countries which were not even involved in the war. Okay, people don't realize that Theodore Roosevelt, who was one of the most warmongering leaders of all time, not only in US, but of all time, he won the Nobel Peace Prize. It's nobody's absolutely sure for what. Elihu Root, who was Roosevelt's Secretary of War, he won the Nobel Peace Prize. Again, nobody knows exactly for what. I'm not a great fan of Gandhi, don't get me wrong. I think he was a very backward reactionary person, but he definitely was he was a peace activist, no doubt, and he took peace activism to a different level at huge cost to himself. I think there are facets of Gandhi which are quite fascinating. And I have no problem in saying that Gandhi was an episode of peace. Gandhi was refused the Nobel Peace Prize 5 times. He never got it. He was nominated 5 times, and each time he was refused because the Nobel Committee did not want to upset the British. It's a whole chapter in itself, and you can go into the Nobel Committee's archives and look at the whole Gandhi thing. Until 2001, Nobel Peace Prize was given to people primarily, or often, if you were a white Christian, especially a Catholic Christian, and if you were bringing civilization to unwashed. So Mother Teresa was an obvious candidate. There was no problem in her getting the prize. Albert Schweitzer got it no problem for his work in Gabon. I'm not saying the work was rubbish, but he maintained strict segregation between whites and non-whites. But he fitted that particular paradigm that he was a white Christian Catholic bringing civilization. There was a Belgian called Father Pire. Nobody's even heard of him. Even since his Nobel, nobody's heard of him. Belgians don't know this man. He was given the Nobel Peace Prize for some strange reason, for obviously sparing Catholicism. In 2000, the Nobel Peace Prize was given to the president of South Korea. I can't remember his name. He became a Catholic, and he took the baptismal name Saint Thomas More. And why he was given the Nobel Peace Prize, even the Nobel Committee doesn't know. So there are, until 2001, 2002, there are countless examples of Nobel Peace Prize being given to white Christian champions who were spreading the faith in the world. Bishop Bello was given the prize, who was the Catholic Bishop of East Timor. He wasn't particularly charitable. He just got Timor separated, split up into the Catholic side and the Muslim side. However, this is very interesting. From 2001, 2002, Nobel Peace Committee sat down and they discussed this issue. And now there's an overdrive on the other side. Now it's almost impossible to get the Nobel Peace Prize if you're a white Christian. And if you are a black person or brown person, if you just plant some trees, you can get it. Like as it happened in Kenya, that Wangari Maathai, she got the prize. She didn't do much for peace or anything like that, but she just went around a part of Africa planting trees, so she got the Nobel Peace Prize. So I think it's a welcome move, but it's a bit sort of coming out of guilt and political correctness, and the dial is now a bit on the other side. So if any of you in Canada, white-skinned, want to win the prize, you have to wait very long, or you won't get it at all probably.
So, how big is the Missionaries of Charity organization today? Is it still
Oh
growing?
my gosh, I actually, you know what? It is pretty big, but they have I can't remember how many houses they have. But most of these houses are not charitable organizations or buildings. They are nunneries and brothers' homes and novitiates and religious buildings. Sometimes they might have a little bit of charity attached to it, like twice a day. If you go to Malta, they have got 3 homes. They're all nunneries. They don't actually do any charitable stuff. But from one of the homes, one of the nunneries, the nuns go out to visit people in prisons a few times a week and trying to convert them as well. They're already converted, but trying to bring them closer to Catholicism. So this is the statistics that she has a huge number of places, but definitely more than half are actually non-charitable. They're religious buildings. Even in Calcutta, for instance, the biggest building is their headquarters. That's entirely administrative nunnery. Then there is another building nearby on Park Street, which is also a nunnery. There's a brother's house. So most of them are actually non-religious, non-charitable. So it's a big organization. It is not very happy or healthy at the moment. They're not getting many volunteers at the moment, especially with the pandemic. And that's a good question. Actually, sorry, I've just reminded. This COVID pandemic, although I have been quite negative about Indians, but I have to say about the COVID pandemic that when you remember that because of Mr. Modi's policies of non-vaccination or low vaccination, or he thought that he's not an anti-vaxxer, don't get me wrong, but he thought that the pandemic had passed because people were getting herd immunity. So vaccination was on the low burner. So people, you have seen how Indians were suffering, people dying on the street, the bodies in the Ganges, etc. At that peak, ordinary, average, middle-class Indians did do a huge amount to help their fellow citizens, mostly like providing them with free food non-stop, money, and any other help they could, like plasma, transfusion, etc., etc. And these are not charitable, normally charitable people. They use a huge amount. Young people did a huge amount. Some of the political parties did a huge amount. All the charities also did a huge amount. There's a charity called Bharat Sevashram Sangha. I think if your Indian listeners are there, they might recognize, or the Ramakrishna Mission. They did a huge amount. And the Bharat Sevashram Sangha, which is a Calcutta-based charity, Hindu charity, they actually converted a lot of their spaces into hospitals, temporary hospitals. And they had a 100-year-old policy of vegetarianism. They reversed that. They suspended that when they had those COVID patients. They allowed them to eat meat and fish and eggs. And a huge amount of it was done by people and charities, organizations, corporate houses in India during COVID, the worst crisis of COVID. The only organization which had nothing to show, zero zilch, niente, was Missions of Charity. Zero, nothing. As somebody said, I mean, they did best. They were they were the finest examples of the advice of, stay at home and keep safe.
The next question is from Ashu Solo. Are there any monuments of Teresa or geographical locations named after Teresa in India?
I'm sure he knows the answer. Is it a who or a she? Sorry, is it a man or a woman?
Ashu Solo. I don't know.
Anyway, Ashu.
Yes, if you like, you can unmute yourself and ask the question yourself, Ashu.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think they probably know the answer. Yes, in Calcutta, various. There is Park Street, which was named after Fanny Park, in 18th century woman, white woman, British woman. The name was changed to Mother Teresa Street. Although it's a bit of a story behind it. The government of West Bengal, as I said, the Marxist government, they were totally against the name, the renaming. But the corporation, which was run by the current government's party, they were the masters of the change, so they forced it through. And there's a bust of hers on Park Street as well. There's a big statue of Mother Teresa in the Salt Lake area of Calcutta, huge. There is a fresco or one of these mosaic type things near her so-called home for the dying in Calcutta. So these are the few things I can remember, and I'm sure in other parts of India there are similar, not probably as many, but quite a few stuff. The only thing that they haven't done is name a tube station after her in Calcutta. Although the current chief minister, as I said, who's passionately fond of her for no particular reason, she's extremely stupid anyway. She wanted to name a tube station after her, but somehow it didn't go through.
The next question comes from Christine Klusenicki. You mentioned the orphanage. The orphanage has improved, but now that attention is called to this, have things improved in the clinics today, as far as you know?
She doesn't have any clinics. She doesn't have. Sorry, go on. Yeah.
So, like reusing needles and medical treatment, does that still continue, or you think that's over?
That particular sign that used to hang in Mother Teresa's time, that was taken down after my book was published. And immediately they had a policy of not reusing needles and gloves. Now there is a doctor that goes in on, I think, at least a weekly basis. Teresa doesn't run any clinics anyway, never did. But yes, painkillers are given to people. most people in that hospice are not dying anyway, but it may be 2% who may be very ill or terminal. They are given painkillers. Yes, things have improved. And the orphanage, yeah, they now allow toys. In Mother Teresa's time, toys were not allowed for I don't know for what reason, and they were sold off to the local shops by nuns. But now, definitely, I have seen toys. Things are better.
Thanks to you and your publications. And
Maybe.
Joel, if you can ask your question.
Thank you for your presentation. I don't know if this was covered. I had to step out for a bit, but there's an excellent book called Hope Endures.
Yes, I've read that as well.
Yes,
and she was a doctor that worked with Mother Teresa for a while, and she mentions very many of the same things that you do. So in spite of having so much money coming in, she wouldn't provide painkillers. She would reuse needles and things, and they would do treatments that was against the medical treatment that this doctor wanted to do, and they continually overruled her. So finally, this woman just quit in disgust. She abandoned her faith, and she wrote this excellent book.
Thank you.
I think that's Susan Shields, probably. Anyway, yeah, it was for Teresa. It was an ideological thing that people had to suffer to be brought closer to God, and it didn't matter to her because she was getting publicity anyway. So what's the point in getting needles? What's the point in getting painkillers? What's the point in getting minimum medical treatment? Because it didn't matter, because people would think she's God anyway.
So, yeah.
Yes, that's the reason.
Thank you for your comment, Joel. So the next question is from Paul Linson. Can you tell us about the experience of being a devil's advocate?
It's quite tedious and boring. I had to go to Westminster Cathedral in London. I had a very pleasant woman who usually interviews, not interrogates, interviews divorcing couples. She's an expert in Catholic canon law. So that's her usual job. So she was given the job of interviewing me. She gave me a list of about 450 questions, and I had to go through each and every one of them. And she took down the answers in hand, I think. And that's about it. It went for 2 days, and then she submitted it to the Vatican, and they put it in the bin, and that was it. So it wasn't. I didn't have to go in front of a judge. I didn't have to stand in the dock. It was across a table, and it was printed questions asked by a woman. It was a set of questions I think they give to everybody. It's a standard question set. And I had to just go through each question and answer to my according to my view.
Chitra Rakal has a comment and a good question. So in my college, I wrote essays on Mother Teresa, and even for my SSB interview, I was told to tell on questions of personality. I admire Mother Teresa. I was told it will give impression of me being loving humanity and kindness. In India, she's proven great personality, and this is like a conflict-free thing. As a common Indian, what an Indian can do to help support your mission?
I don't know. I mean,
called it a mission.
I think it's not a mission. Firstly, secondly, I really, I despair when I look at the Indian situation. I have had this conversation with people in Calcutta countless times. It's a very typical conversation I would have had. Mother Teresa is like a goddess. She's the greatest woman on earth. Person A says to me. And I said, so what is she doing? She said, oh, she's picking up destitutes from the streets of Calcutta. And she's picking up people who are dying for the sewers and gutters of Calcutta. So my question or comment to this person, so-called well-educated person. So where are the sewers and gutters of Calcutta? Oh, I don't know. They must be there. So why are you talking about the sewers and gutters when you haven't seen them? Because I have heard about them on CNN and BBC and all that, and I've read about them. Okay. So my crucial question to you now is, there are obviously beggars in Calcutta. Some of them are lying on the pavements, as we all know. When I was quite young during the 1971 Bangladesh Civil War, there were lots of people lying on the streets. But anyway, still, there are people lying on the streets. I said, okay, you have seen people in Calcutta, because you are from Calcutta yourself, lying on the streets. Have you ever, in your life of, say, 30 years or 40 years or 50 years, have you ever seen a Mother Teresa nun remove a dying destitute or a beggar from the streets of Calcutta to one of our homes or our home for the dying? No, I haven't. So why do you then propagate this view that Mother Teresa removes or Mother Teresa takes people away from the streets and brings them into a nice public place? Because I have read it in books on her. I have seen it on television. I have heard CNN and Fox News mention it. I said, but you are from Calcutta yourself, and you have spent 50 years in the city, and you have seen destitute on the streets, and you have never witnessed this sight of Mother Teresa's nuns removing even a dying child from the streets. And you still believe that? Yes, I still believe that. So how can you argue, or how can you put logic into people who think like this? I have given up myself. So I think if Chitra is asking me, how do I make my mission more acceptable in India, I have no hope. I've given up. I think there is a lack of logic in the thinking. I don't know, it's probably because of the education system. And I just get very frustrated. So what I do is I just do what I have to do. And when I, maybe 100 years after I die, some people might think like me. I don't know. I just don't care.
Yes, thank you for this. So Gord has a question. Do you have any comments on the role of Malcolm Muggeridge in the
he was the
Mother
main
Teresa
person.
mythos? Do you have
he was the myth. Without him, Mother Teresa wouldn't exist. That's why in my book there's a whole chapter on him, because he was the one who brought out that obscure nun and publicized her all over the world, first through BBC and then continuously in the American media. And that was the era of single channel television. And that was the era of also Hare Krishna and hippie, all the hippie stuff. So the people were going from the west to east to find spiritual enlightenment. And there was this reverse thing of a woman going from west to east to actually give the Eastern people enlightenment and charity. So this was a revelation and a great attraction for people in the UK first, and then all over the world, that Mother Teresa was doing, saving all the people. Actually, in the beginning, she never said that she was saving so many people and she was doing a huge amount. But Muggeridge forced her to say it. And Muggeridge was the one who ran the publicity, the campaign for the Nobel Prize over the decade from 1969 to 79, and lobbied various people to get at the Nobel Prize.
By the way, there is also a nice comment here that made me smile. Larry Williams says that being homeless in India doesn't compare to being homeless in Canada. You can
No.
freeze here.
No, being homeless in India is pretty bad because you don't get any public housing, obviously, and there are people who are naturally homeless. There are people who are temporarily homeless, but Mother Teresa's never ever helped a homeless person in her whole career. She didn't. That infrastructure didn't even exist in her organization to help homeless people. But if you ask an average Indian, does Mother Teresa help? Did Mother Teresa help homeless people? Of course she does, because we have read it, we have seen it on films, and we have watched it on Fox News. There you go.
So my last question is not about Mother Teresa. I would like to ask your thoughts about the mission of Center for Inquiry Canada. What do you think about CFI Canada, and do you think India needs organizations like
India
CFI?
has got quite a few such ones. India actually, because it's a big country, I mean, probably I think 8% people are atheists, and out of them maybe 90% are extreme atheists out of that 8%. And there are lots of rational people. There are rationalists in Calcutta itself, very strong movements. So I think, I don't know whether you have a branch in India, you probably don't, right? CFI?
I know that there used to be a CFI in Pakistan, but I don't know about India.
No, there are many similar organizations and many people who do a lot. But you see, in Calcutta, what happens with these organizations vis-a-vis Mother Teresa is that because in Calcutta, people, especially people who do that sort of thing, they don't consider Mother Teresa as a big entity or a big issue. They think she's a minor player. So that's why they don't actually address her that much, people who are rationalists. They do address her from time to time, but she's not a big factor in their lives. They are more interested in like people addressing the witch doctors, and if you are bitten by a snake, what to do, and you shouldn't go to the temple, but you should do this, that, and the other ABC medical stuff. Don't wear amulets if you're ill. Vaccinate your child. These are the things people do rather than address Mother Teresa. To address her is a bit of a luxury for the rationalists in India.
Yes, by the way, I've just checked, and no, there is no CFI in India as of now. Maybe in the future.
Yeah, there will be, I'm sure.
Yeah, so let me see if we have, we have one last question from Larry Williams.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, it's Hinduism. I don't.
Yes.
I mean, it really makes me sick. Actually, the Indian religious situation. It's toxic Hinduism. It's really obnoxious. I mean, the way the current BJP government is coming down on Muslims makes me cry sometimes. Their shops are being vandalized. They're being beaten up. People are killed for eating beef or even suspicion of eating beef. If a Muslim man goes out with a Hindu girl, which doesn't happen very often, but if it does, you can be assured that your house will be burned down. The boy's house will be burned down, and maybe the girls as well. It's not getting better, it's getting worse, and I don't know where this is going to end. On the other token, what I have noticed, this is my personal observation, that the more the BJPs and the Saffron Party, they come down against Muslims, and they are actually pretty in awe of Christians. They are pretty nice to Christians even. It's kind of a reaction formation, and also they're trying to tell the world that, look, if you were so obnoxious and hurtful to minorities, why would it not be universal? So Modi has even said that he would allow eating of beef in the northeastern states, which have got a lot of Christians. And in Goa also, I think the BJP doesn't want to ban beef eating, but in most other parts of India, where BJP is in power, you may be killed, even for suspicion that you have killed a cow. So I don't have much optimism for India politically, and the toxicity of Hindu nationalism is pretty heart-chilling.
Thank you very much. So, yeah, thank you, Dr. Aroup Chatterjee, for this enlightening and entertaining presentation.
Thank you.
As I mentioned at the beginning, we are Canada's only national nonprofit for science and free thought. We hope that those of you who are not already members will consider purchasing a membership. We will include a link to our membership page in the chat window, and I think I already did that, but I will do it again. And also through our meetup groups. I hope that you will consider joining, and not only does your membership provide financial support to CFIC, it also adds your voice to that of others who support science, critical thinking, and secularism.
Absolutely.
As we grow in numbers, so does our influence with government decision makers and the public opinion that guides them. We advocate for science-based decisions on government policy, healthcare, public education, and human rights. If concerns like climate change, blasphemy laws, education curriculum, medical pseudoscience are important to you, please become a CFIC member. In today's landscape, there are too many people spreading misinformation and trying to mislead you. Without us, the major influencers will continue to be the large self-interested groups and institutions that benefit from making baseless claims and spreading pseudoscientific nonsense.
True.
So please consider a membership. It's only $30 a year. Finally, a big thanks to the CFIC volunteers. If you would like to volunteer with CFIC, you can always sign up on our website. And there are many interesting positions for you to choose from. Our next event is gonna be the Conference for Inquiry, Mind, Brain, and Thought, which will be on November 14th. Please visit our website to have more information about the event and to buy tickets. Now I'm going to try to unmute all of your microphones. So let's please.
Can I just say, what about becoming a republic?
Yeah. Yes. Well, let's have another talk about that.
Yeah, you should actually.
I would join.
Let's please give Aroup a big round of applause. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. And have
Thanks
a
very
great
much.
night.
Thank you for your company.